Hey guys, Tarke perpetually doomed to be reliving the same cycle over and over again, and I want to talk about the first major patch we've had to Lake of Kalandra. I also want to go through some feedback points and some frustrations. There are some positive changes in here. They do say themselves that they're not happy, there are more changes to come, but much like their previous post, I feel like it kind of misses the point. If you're not up to date, Ziggy did an exceptionally good video, which I will leave linked down below, basically just summarizing all of the issues in an incredibly balanced and fair take. He's not really putting much of his own personal opinion in there. He's just kind of stating what's been happening and why people feel the way they feel. This, as far as I'm aware, is the most negative sentiment that the player base has ever had to a league, more so than 315, I would say. Let's go through these changes. So, Arch, Nemesis, and Rare monster changes. There are some positive changes in here. I feel like these changes completely miss the point. I made multiple videos hammering on these points last league, and it feels like we're just back in this cycle, and it's just like, why are we going through the same thing over and over and over again? We've already learnt this lesson. So, what have they done? Lowered the incremental life bonus that rare and magic monsters receive from having additional Archnem mods. Good. Increase the base life bonus that rare and magic monsters receive. Fine. The overall result of this change is that rare and magic monsters with one Archnem have unchanged life on average. Most one Archnem mod rares and magics you instantly delete. Fine. Rare monsters with 2 or 3 have 15% less life on average. This is helpful in some cases, completely meaningless in other cases. I still regularly instantly delete rare Archnem monsters. The issue isn't that just like all the Archnems have too much life, it's to do with specific modifiers, the way they stack, and the massive disparity you have in just raw base enemy types in Path of Exile. There's a very good video doing the rounds of DS Lily spending 3 minutes fighting an Essence Skeleton, and it's like, okay, and she says that even in the video, it's good that that's a skeleton because it's a really easy monster, it's very slow, you can just kind of walk around in circles. It's boring that you're spending 3 minutes fighting it, but at least it's not like the most dangerous thing you've ever done in existence. If that was a enemy with ranged abilities or had some sort of leap or something, should have been screwed there. That would have been like an instant skip in a hardcore scenario. Would have led to loads of deaths, loads of wasted XP, and at the end of it, the loot wasn't even worth doing. The problem with just doing small life changes like this, and this is the same issue we had last league, is it makes some of the things a little bit better, but it's very much a band-aid fix, and it's not addressing the core issue, which is how Arch Nemesis is in every single aspect of the game, and rather than addressing the problem points of Arch Nemesis, they're just doing like random global blanketed changes, and it's not going to fix anything. All that will happen is the monsters you instantly deleted, you'll continue to instantly delete. The ones that took, for example, 30 seconds with 15% less life will now take 25.5 seconds, which, yeah, is better. In that time, you could kill a map boss, and it's very strange how you have map bosses going in seconds, and then you have Arch Nemesis monsters, which are like the scariest thing in the game, scarier than like endgame pinnacle bosses. The whole thing is screwed. Rare monsters with 4 mods have unchanged life values on average. So again, they're even kind of saying we want the 4 modifiers to be super scary, so it's just the 2 to 3 mods are slightly less life stacked on them. It's to do with certain mods stacking together. You'll have mods that brick certain builds. Wither immunity still exists as an Archnem mod. You've got stuff like Sentinel. They need to be removing specific modifiers, and we've been saying this for a really long time, maybe having a system where it's like you get a damage mod, and a defensive mod, and a utility mod, or like 2 damage mods, 1 defensive mod. There needs to be some sort of pooling. Yeah, that needs looking into. Monsters can no longer be found with 3 Archnem mods during the campaign. This is good. The likelihood of encountering monsters with 2 has been reduced. Also good. It will make the campaign a little bit easier. It will make the game feel a little bit better. The game is still, I think, the worst state it's ever been for new players coming in. Path of Exile needs new players. Yeah, again, doesn't solve problem modifiers. The monsters can no longer be found with the Empowering Minions mod during the campaign. Cool. So there is some acknowledgement that there are specific modifiers that sort of stand out, but like this doesn't really do anything to address the endgame. And the campaign is still a massive issue for a lot of people, and there's no escaping Arch Nemesis because it is just intrinsically ingrained into every single aspect of Path of Exile currently. Reduce the amount of extra life that Essence provide to monsters. This is a positive change. 30% less life if you've got a Screaming or Shrieking. But again, it doesn't really address things because there are lots of Essence monsters that I delete in a matter of seconds, and then other Essence monsters that I spend multiple minutes fighting on. All that will happen now is the ones that I instantly deleted, I will instantly delete faster, and the ones that I spent multiple minutes on, I will still spend multiple minutes on. The overall, difficulty curve of this game is completely out of the window. The loot is incredibly spiky, the difficulty is incredibly spiky, the game is just spiky. I'm still having fun playing Path of Exile, I'm still enjoying 319. And also, stop shouting at people when they say they enjoy the game, by the way. But changes like this don't really do anything to fix the core problems. Reduce the amount of life that red beasts have by 12%. Everything I've said before, cool, I instantly delete some, others take minutes. For Essence monsters and reds with 2 or 3, the above changes are in addition to 15% less life on average. I've said my piece on this. Betrayal research encounters no longer spawn packs of rares, though scientists will still found as rare monsters. Sure. Betrayal, intervention, and transportation no longer spawn rare monsters. Sure. Lake of Kalandra. Increase the likelihood of being able to make multiple choices at a mirrored tablet in early yellows. This is a buff to Lake of Kalandra. I like the league mechanic. It's exceptionally difficult. Yesterday, I did a 12 difficulty, beyond encounter, so a Scourge encounter. Spent literally about 4 minutes fighting the Scourge boss at the very end, and it dropped 1 tainted chromatic and 1 tainted armor scrap. Just throwing that out there. Didn't drop anything else, by the way. It is now possible to make 3 choices at a mirrored tablet in reds. This is positive. Massively increase the chest rewards from non-league encounters through the lake, particularly at higher map levels and difficulties. Right. This is why I mentioned the Scourge thing. There's this very strange thing currently with how Lake of Kalandra functions, where you feel like you want to be blocking the, whatever fluff tiles that are just, fire enemies, lightning enemies, frost enemies, but those actually have chests. Those have guaranteed loot in them. Whereas a lot of the league encounters don't scale. They're exceptionally difficult, and then all that they reward you are the item drops from the enemies themselves, but item drops are bricked. The game currently is in a very weird state where there's been all these massive nerfs to item drops specifically from monsters, and not so much from chests. So with this change and the massive buff to chest rewards, then I will be blocking league encounters. So, as I said earlier, multiple minute Scourge, stuff like Blight, and then purposely going for the stuff which guarantees me chests. This is a positive change, but the league-specific content in Lake of Kalandra needs serious attention. Other changes. Increase the life force yield in harvest encounters in low map tiers. Increase the likelihood of finding a higher level armor base type. Okay, so let's talk about this harvest thing first. This is a positive change for harvest. However, as this thread very clearly dictates, or not dictates, sorry, explains, dictate was the wrong word to use there. It goes through all the details of what's actually happened with harvest. The most powerful harvest crafts have been removed. We only have the weakest version of harvest crafts. They've said they're happy with the current amount of juice you're getting in fully invested red maps, which is not very much. So you will now have access to more juice, but the crafts that you can use with that juice are significantly weaker. And yeah, it's kind of bricked. I will say check out that thread. It is a good thread. Increase the likelihood of finding higher level armor base types. This is quite impactful, resulting in about 25% more higher armor base types dropping. This is a positive change. This is a change that should have happened years and years and years ago. This is just a global thing. This is good. However, there's currently a big issue, as detailed very well in this video by Snap, by the way, talking about how just the base amount of loot dropping in the game is significantly lower. Now, again, I've been kind of enjoying it because I'm the kind of weirdo who would enjoy playing hard mode, but the problem with that is there's still no raw currency drops and stuff like that coming from enemies. So while they will be dropping higher level base types, which is good, so the actual items they're dropping on average will be more usable, which is a positive change. players currently feel like they don't have the currency to roll their maps and just do mapping content, let alone have the currency to craft the gear. And then with the harvest changes, it's like, okay, so I can't use harvest to craft my gear. Essence might be better now, but a lot of players feel like they can't use essence to craft their gear. So it's like, so you're just picking up items, so then you're going back to the days of just running very loose item filters, which is what I've been doing for years and years and years in SSF, which sort of works to a function, but that's like a very narrow mindset, which, like, what portion of the player base is being served, basically. So hard mode weirdos like me are being served, sort of, like we're kind of getting what we want, but we were happy playing a side mode. Like, I could have just opted into this. I would have been happy just opting into this when I made my character. I would have been happy, but like opting in, right? Whereas people who aren't weirdos, Trade League players aren't happy. Most SSF players aren't happy who are into like the really long crafting game because they feel like they can't access that at all. So this doesn't really do anything to help them. You'll have more higher level armor base types, which is great. You'll be having less raw items dropping and the items that are dropping of higher quality, which is great. But then we need the currency orbs to kind of go back up a bit. Quite a big bit. Bug fixes. Fix the bug, fix the bug, fix the bug. All right, cool. So, as they say, they're still doing more rewards for certain encounters. Hopefully, as I said, some of the League stuff is still out there. Some quality of life stuff with showing which areas are completed and when. They're going to be adjusting map boss item drops. They're going to have it so that they drop fewer items at much higher rarity. Cool. It's a step in the right direction, as they say. It's not in the right place. But it's just kind of like... It's hard to tell at the moment how much of it is we messed this up, the tuning's not right, we're going to fix the tuning, and how much of it is we disagree. I've seen a lot of the sentiment that, like, oh, they don't have any testers. They've got people testing. Like, they've got people working in QA. They have people doing that. It doesn't mean that the feedback they're being given is acted upon, though. So, I don't know. It's frustrating. I'm having fun. I will continue to have fun playing Path of Exile. I would be having a lot more fun if we were, like, getting snappier changes. I think I could live with probably all of the changes if it wasn't the fact that we've gone backwards with Arch-Nem, because it just feels so much like we've had this conversation before. Like, we've had this conversation so much. So to go back to this point is exceptionally frustrating. The loot stuff, which is the biggest change, because it's not that it doesn't affect me as much, but what am I trying to say? In a way, I'm willing to accept it because that's something new. Right? I still feel like it should have been communicated. I still feel like it's ridiculous that some of the biggest changes that they've ever done to the fundamentals weren't communicated at all. But I can kind of accept that. It's just like, why are we doing the same thing we literally just did last league? That's the bit where I'm just kind of like, how are we not learning from this? But anyway, I'm Tarke. Have a good day. What's your thoughts on this patch, by the way? Bye-bye.